Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Performing the Arts, season 5, episode 4. I believe, yeah, episode either episode 4 or 5. No, it's episode 4. I more or less haven't done this show in a while because of actual work. So yeah,
Hmm.
as, by the time I was doing production of the last episode and this episode, I actually had a job, which I don't want to talk about because I got fired from that job. So it's
Uh,
anyway. So today I'm actually speaking to one of my good friends, if not great friends in the performing arts community, Brendan Puryear. Uh, yeah, probably because,
Hi.
uh, Brandon is an actor, a poet, and a model, which we'll touch upon that like much later. But yeah, I've known Brandon for like almost 5 years now. The first time we actually met each other was for a production of for a I don't want to say it was a student ran production. I mean a student production, but it was a production for a play called Date no yeah Dates and Nuts, or was it Patty?
Hmm.
I forgot which one it was called. It was essentially two names for the thing. It was billed as both.
Yes, it was Dates and Nuts and Caddy Issues.
Yeah, but I'm not sure which one it was because it was kind of like billed as both. So it was like
Hmm.
it was like tonight, see Dates and Nuts slash Caddy Issues, and you kind of like which one was which. So it's like I forgot which one it was, but you were hilarious and entertaining in that play because you were. It's like when I first met him, I'm like, how is this character gonna be trained? It's like when you're doing a character in rehearsal, how is this character gonna,
Hmm.
trans, on stage when it's just like, oh, we're just kind of like in our rehearsal clothing, it's like that we're not in our official like uh costumes yet, it's like
Yes.
that sort of thing too. So, but yeah, known him for like 5 years almost now, and both of us have been like pretty good friends for the most part. And whenever I'm having like my
Yes.
I want to say like mental health days or mental health times, I reached
Hmm.
him a couple letters, and he's just like, Brian, just like calm, not like just calm down, but just like do what you gotta do. And but yeah, known him for a couple of years, well, not a couple of years, like almost half a decade now, which is amazing considering.
Yeah, time is flying.
Yeah, not only that, if you live in New York and if you've known someone more than 5 years in the performing arts business, that's amazing all by itself because people do come and go in New York City.
Yes, they do.
So it's like you might know someone for a year, and then suddenly they're like next year they're practically gone. So it's like, oh, well, they went to
Well, that's most of my friendships. They're everywhere right now.
yeah. Thanks, Rona.
Yeah, yeah, that too.
uh, but yeah, Brandon, how did the easiest question I start with is how did you get into the performing arts?
Oh, how? Like, I guess like anybody else, they were put into it in classes, like elementary school plays or whatnot, those types of skits. They did Shakespeare in fourth grade. So it was just, I guess it was implanted in me. And it was a great like outreach and outlet. And it was perfect. So I guess very young age, elementary school. And then I guess in high school, it sort of blossomed more because I was in a show choir called Pipers. We were elite. We were everything. It's still there actually,
Oh,
run
nice.
by Mr. Gregory Bennett. He's still there as well. We would travel to Disney. We would perform there. We'd win awards. We would travel to, I think they traveled to Albany last year or Buffalo. Won an award there as well. We were great. And I also joined a tech club called GERTech. So they were my first introduction into stage crew work. So I joined that before I joined Pipers.
Yeah.
So it was a great like getting to know the backgrounds and the workings of how the show is put on, as they say, to see in the veins and the hard work of it. It was great. So I was in that club for about 3, 4 years, and I still am. Actually, we have member cards, which is so cute that they did that. Um, and I was head of rails, which is the pulley system that moves the curtains in and out. It takes up in and out of props, those things, the wiring system. So that was my job. It was great. Took some skill, So and it was also passed down. So it was great to have it passed down to me, and I pass it down to someone else as well.
Yeah.
And then I joined Pipers. It was great.
From your experiences working behind the scenes, especially, did you know a lot about working behind the scenes when you were like
But
just like not at
I
all?
mean, I've read about it. I've seen it in how it's made. Those all those shows I used to watch. Um, I've seen it in the Broadway documentaries or the Broadway YouTube channel. All of that, you see the behind the scenes things like that. But actually doing it was great. It was mind blowing. I was like, wow.
Yeah, I think if you want to be an actor or at least work in theater or some sort of entertainment position, work behind the scenes, get to know people,
Mhm.
get to know like the fundamentals of the brass tacks and everything. It's like I think I'm much better acting now than I was like say 6 years ago, where it's because if I
Oh,
had,
definitely.
huh?
I said, oh, definitely. Same here.
It's like if I hadn't gone through the regiments of what it is working behind the scenes, and we're seeing how uh, the gears are literally working behind the scenes, especially as a part of tech crew, where it's just like, hey, you gotta be a stagehand for the show, or you're gonna be doing lights, or
Hmm.
or like you just
Actually, I think most actors should at some point work behind the scenes.
yeah
I feel like I feel like you would appreciate it more, because I appreciate the stage work and being on stage more, knowing the people behind the scenes, knowing how it works, knowing how big of a deal it is. Because when I was in high school, it was because the actors on stage, they were never in our group. They were
yeah
never in our Vertex. We were the nerds, basically. They were the popular
yeah
people. So they thought we catered to them, basically. I'm like, no, this is a family. This is a melting pot. We
oh
cater to
yeah
each other, you know? So it was just nice knowing that there was a boundary, knowing that I could break those things. It was great.
Yeah, a couple of years ago, my Facebook memories just told me, he's like, "Oh, hey, Brooklyn College is performing, doing a production of the Lester McGrew." Where I'm like, and I'm just like, the days of Lester McGrew, where I was working from like 12 hours a day inside of a big gym, not gymnasium, a big auditorium, and then doing all this stuff, and then making sure everything is just like is on the level of just being performed right, and then
Hmm.
just as you're just mentioning, I'm just actually remembering the pre-show thing where it's just like, okay, is everything in position on stage? And then they were like,
Hmm.
go to Daraso, who was the stage manager. See if she needs anything else, because I'll go all the way upstairs to the third floor. Well, technically speaking, the Brooklyn College Performing Arts Center, there's like maybe two floors, but there is like a third floor for like that like booth. So technically
Hmm.
there is like a third floor, but it isn't really like a official floor. It's just like the floor for like technical things, like spotlight, lights, all that
Oh,
stuff.
yes, yes, I know those very well. Yes.
Yeah,
They always
and
put us in the back.
yeah, and I go to the booth. And I'm like, oh man, it's like just to actually, and I'm just remembering now. It's like just to be in that like booth for like a couple hours on end, just like calling the show, making sure everything is not only rolling correctly, but also like you have all these like every single is sound ready, is light ready, is props.
Yes, and then they all have to synchronize with each other.
Yeah, because I remember actually,
It's a lot.
yeah, and it's like I remember, as I always like to say, I remember being in my sound class in BMTC, and we had to do measure for measure, and the first day I had to do it, I was like, I'm kind of like nervous. I was like, and I remember the sound, not sound. I remember not only my sound partner, but like, just hit that big red button, and I'm like, okay,
Hmm.
and I always like to say is like I forget that the first cue was this church bell that goes like it's like a 10-second church bell, but the first 5 seconds was dead air. So I forgot about the dead air, and I just hit the next cue, and all you just hear is like the church bell, and then the first like cue of the song. This goes straight into the thing because the BMCC production of Measure for Measure was also a musical, so that's
Hmm.
an interesting case of doing both Shakespeare but also a musical too. It's like it's uh, not only from a technical standpoint but from an acting standpoint too. That's like not only you got to remember how to do like anyway. That's a whole different discussion. But yeah, you really want to be into entertainment, especially if you want to be an actor or actress or even someone, even in, on that standpoint, work in not only background but also work in the technical standpoint of being.
Yes, that too.
So like I was saying before, if I hadn't gone through the notion of working background or not background, like technical standpoint of being like staging and all that stuff, I probably would not
Hmm.
have been a better actor than it was like say 6 years ago. Because 6 years ago, I was just like still on trying to figure out what my acting prowess is and stuff like that too. Where it's just like now, thanks to not only the professors I had over the years, but I feel like thanks to the fact that I was part of the technical side, has allowed
Hmm.
not only respect the notion of what my acting is now because it's like I have to imagine what it is being also behind the scenes too because would the people behind the scenes hear me rather than having the audience hear me because what happens if I say
Yes.
my line because what happens if I say my line and all of a sudden I'm supposed to have this prop and the props people did not hear my cue because I didn't speak as loud as I could because my voice because I'm only focusing on the audience rather than hey.
Yes. Yeah. You got to enunciate. Everybody has to hear you. You have to speak for the back of the audience. Also paint for the back of the audience.
So not only is theater a not only theater is a whole work for everyone else, but it is just a whole work to as an actor too
Hmm.
because you got to make sure that not only does the people in front of you hear you, make sure the people behind you hear you, and you just got to remember to make sure the people behind you hear you quite well, rather than just being like enunciating in front of you rather than behind you. So yeah,
Hmm.
long story short, if you do want to be an actor, please go into the behind the scenes and actually make sure that that sort of thing too.
Yes, definitely. The light
Uh,
board was one of my favorite things to work with, by the way.
yeah, I can imagine. I know friends who actually worked in lights who were just like geniuses in terms of what they could do with lighting because,
I still know them.
and
They're
then
amazing.
and then I'd be looking at the light board. I'm like, do you really want me to be a light board operator? Because I have no damn sense of like, nope. Just give me a couple of tools and I'll help you. Or just don't trust me with the light board just because I worry about like the same thing with being a sound designer. I mean, a sound engineer, where it's like,
Oh no, very quite similar, and that's why I'm not. That's why I don't do
yeah, I
it.
was like, I don't want to mess up, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, hit like Q86. I'm like, okay, wonderful. It's like because when you see a light board, when you see a light board, it's literally like hundreds of buttons, and you just don't want to be like mess up.
And knobs and everything.
And I remember having one of my professors a couple of years ago talking about the light board operator at Brooklyn College because they were talking because she was talking about because when the light board because I forget who it was, but I think the light board operating professor was actually part of like the Broadway thing, like the Broadway scene, and he might have been
Hmm.
uh, either working for King Kong or Moulin Rouge or one of those two plays because they were mentioning
Either one is amazing.
yeah, and they were mentioning no, it was Moulin Rouge because they were mentioning how many lights there were on Moulin Rouge, like literally
Hmm.
almost like half of like 500 to maybe 1,000 lights on the stage by itself, and you're just like, and my professor was actually talking about,
I can see that on the sign alone. That's better.
yeah, and my professor was actually taking, well, what you're looking at is one of the light rigs that were be on Moulin Rouge right now, but also just being like, and I remember it's like, really? And she goes, yeah, it was like, and we were all fiddling around the thing, and then, and I'm just like, and these were like legitimate like Broadway lights, because the moment that light hit you, you're just like,
Yeah.
it's like that strong. It's like that strong of a light. So I respect the people who do not only sound but also lights in general, because the people who do lights in general, if they know you're an asshole, you may not get the proper lighting you could be, you know, and you know, it's like if you're sitting down and all of a sudden it's like, why is Brian?
That too. And the stage manager is your friend.
Yeah, it's like, why is Brian not properly shown above himself? It's like, why is there not like there's like a light only on? It's like Bon and Mary. It's like, so if, and this is like another role of being in behind the scenes too. If you do want to become an actor, or at least want to become something like that, one, learn the trade craft. You know, be friends with everybody, especially the stage manager, and two, just take the job. But you know, it's like, I mean, not take the job and love it, but just take the job role and just have fun with it. You know, it's like, you know, it might be a thing with, oh, it's like, you might like what you just said before. You were doing like you were doing the curtains.
My rails, yeah.
Yeah. People who do the curtains, like, it is a physically demanding job, because you really have to do this, like,
Yes.
and it's like when you're doing that for like maybe a few times a night, you know, your arms will get tired. But if you have people who are helping you, you know, it's like that like tired notion would just go away. So yeah.
No, it was just me. We didn't have assistants, and it was a long line. And it's a lot. It's a lot of technical crap in that. But you have to reweigh
Yeah.
things. It's cool though. It was fun.
And again, speaking back from a couple of years ago with Lesson Blue, I remember there was a time where the the front of like the front thing closed, right? But there was another thing that wasn't like closing. So it was like the top portion. I forgot what was called, the top curtain.
I
And
don't know.
top curtain didn't come down. So what happened was, like, at the end of the show, they had to bring down the, or well, not during the end of the show, they had to bring down Charlie towards intermission, where it's like, okay, we got to bring this down real quickly, work on it, and then by the time emission was, or you know, intermission was over, the top portion of the curtain actually was starting to close more better. So yeah, it's working behind the scenes. Not only do you learn more adaptability faster, but also making sure you're very quick on the toes. But enough about behind the scenes, because I can talk about behind the scenes a lot, but this is more of like this is a perform. Well, again, behind the scenes is literally a performing art by yourself. But you know, it's I want to talk about you and
It's helping the process for sure.
yeah, I want to talk about you and how did you get into performing arts. But you mentioned Rattlers, or is it Rattlers, or something, the show choir.
Oh, pipers, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
Piper. I thought it was Rattlers. Why am I thinking it's Rattlers? Pipers. Uh, what was it like performing in a performing choir? Like, because you mentioned you performed at Disney World and other places like that. Whenever
We performed around the community. We were cool.
and you
Performing in that,
mentioned
well, I love them. Yeah.
and you mentioned that you were performing like other competitions too. Is like whenever I think of choir work or something like that, I just, especially if it's like in a high school, I'm just imagining. Please don't tell me there's like Glee, and it's this is.
Yep. But they were there before Glee though. We were. I mean, Glee is just like us now.
Yeah, and but yeah, it's like, was it like in hindsight, was it like the same thing where it's like you're performing on stage, where it's like we have the same thing, especially because I'm not really a trained singer, but I have that notion of, you know, what it is being like on stage and stuff like that. And
Well, I mean, it was definitely the groundwork. I loved it. It was a great experience. Especially being in show choir, doing the the theater at my high school doing Tech, which is behind the scenes. I was doing a lot. I was also doing technical education and management at a BOCES program during high school as well. So I was doing a lot of things. Also the swim team, and then tried out for track, and then didn't do any of those. So I went to show choir. But yeah, performing in that, it was great. I'm still actually very close friends with most of my show choir members. So it was cool. It was cool. We built a family. Of course, there was the dramas and whatnot, but learning the songs, learning the dances, it was fun. I still know some of the dances too, which is which is crazy. But I'll see if I remember some more later.
No, that's perfectly fine. That's perfectly fine. I feel like if it isn't a show choir or a show or something dances relating to performing arts, there isn't no drummer without that, because I feel like even if
Well, no, there's always drama.
Yeah,
because
I feel like
because we have to know each other and become this family in such a short, condensed time sometimes, and then just a lot has to be unveiled in order for us to get that performing aspect out of us. Because in order to perform, you have to be free.
Yeah.
And if you're not free and in that moment and in your character, and you're allowing some outside force to affect that character, then what are you doing? You can't do that. Be in that moment, be in that scene.
Yeah, it
So
definitely.
it's just best to get all that off your chest.
Yeah, it definitely the same thing with when you're in a cast too, is where it's just like, I remember in the Dates and Nuts thing, I remember there was a little drama by itself with one of the actors who remained nameless, and I think you both know who we were talking about, and I don't remember what his reason was or why he was the thing, but and it's the same thing where it's just like when there is a performer who is like trying, yeah, like the same thing as like when there is a performer who is not trying, like who is unsure about the role that who they dealt with.
Mhm.
As a cast, especially as an ensemble cast, I think it's everyone's duty to essentially help them out, because like you just said before,
Yes.
even when there is drama behind the scenes, everyone else needs to actually pitch in and actually make sure to make sure to actually help this person out. But
Yeah, and just get the characters out in general. Because actually how I got Patrick, which was the drag queen, that was his name, or her name, Patrick. Her drag name was Mary. um, so I got her through Kari. You know Kari Nor Thompson?
oh yes, who doesn't know Kari?
Yes, he was the producer. He is
Who
currently in
in
China.
China? Who not only because last time I just checked, Kari was went off to China to become a teacher to teach and
As he did.
and then I think he's still in China now training under like Spartan Games. I'm like, oh my god, okay, Kari.
Listen, he out here trying to make his money. I'm not even complaining.
I'm not even complaining too. I mean, more power to him. But damn, I'm like, am I actually gonna see Kari before 20? Because before it's like 2030 or something, because
we'll see. He might stay over there, but he said he did want to visit. But we shall see.
But yeah, back to
yes, but he is the one who brought Patrick out of me, who got that performance. Yeah. He helped me get there. He saw that. And if the so and so who shall not be named asks for the support and or the help, we could have gotten there too, instead of replacing them. Even though the replacement did a very, very good job.
Oh my god, the replacement who replaces the actor, amazing performer.
Very good job.
And thank you for always being someone who is always like not only in that, like, especially since that person had like essentially maybe 2 or 3 days or maybe even a couple of days worth of just like rehearsal time. And
oh my goodness, yes, he was like dropped in there. He was like, hey, can you do this? Learn the lines very quickly. I think we had one rehearsal together. One rehearsal.
Yep. And I think that was part of the one of the rehearsals I was actually part of, because the nameless actor who just dropped, because I remember that rehearsal thing where it's like this was also coming toward the bad time for me because this is I'm actually coming up to uh, 5 years since my grandmother's passing, or by the time this has
Oh, I'm sorry.
probably been like 5 years already. But
Hmm.
that production was actually a great way to keep my mind off of what was happening, and
Oh,
like
yes, always.
and like you said before, uh, there has to be drama behind the scenes because without drama behind the scenes, nothing's really not working. Especially if I was,
Hmm.
that's Brooklyn, and especially when I was working at Brooklyn College, there was always some drama behind the scenes.
Hmm. And trust me, my blood was boiling. Okay, you know me, I had some things to say.
Yeah,
but but because him dropping out kind of it messed me up because you're my scene partner as well.
yeah,
So losing all that chemistry and then having to regain it as well with the replacement. But the yes, the replacement came in, swooped in, did his thing,
yeah.
did
The
his thing.
replacement is I want to say a goat in terms of just being an actor in general, but yeah,
Hmm.
the nameless actor is like I remember being in there like one of the days where it's just like, oh, he's there today, or it's like, oh, he's gonna be like that. And then I think the next rehearsal I was there, which was the rehearsal where he just like up and left. And
Hmm. I
and
think that was actually that was the same day I was getting tested for my makeup.
yeah.
So
And
I was in like full glam over here, not even full glam, half glam at that point.
yeah, I
Completely
just remember
livid in the chair.
yeah, I just remember you, Jessica, William, and a couple others just like sitting around talking on the thing, and I'm just like sitting around just talking with you, and I was like, oh yeah, by the way, so and so just quit, and they were like, oh okay, and and of course, like I'm just getting flashbacks to what happened with me because the previous semester when I was playing a Martian for like Men from like, not Men from Mars. I was playing a Martian, and one of the cast members just happened to drop out, and the person who dropped out, she just wasn't comfortable kissing on stage and stuff like that too, or at least that was
Hmm.
the official reason. And the person who, the replacement who came in, who we both know, is like the same person that who came in and swooped in and helped you with that same thing. Where it's just like,
Ah, got you.
yeah, so it's like I don't know what it is about BMCC, but there is like a mole at BMCC where it's like there are great talents behind the scenes, but also the great talents on stage. Uh,
Hmm.
but speaking of BMCC, I was like, I forgot to mention how did you get to BMCC? Because I know you mentioned that Kari helps you with the role of Patrick,
Hmm.
Mary. How did you get to BMCC? Were
I
you?
mean, so did Christian Cordova as
Yeah,
well, who was
Christian.
the director.
Yeah,
That was
Dover.
with JB.
Yeah, Dover was
Um,
the one who came in and swooped in and helped me with being my scene partner.
oh, her, she's
She-
dropped just incredible
Yeah,
actress. But yes, both of them got that Patrick out of me because they wanted something over the top, and I have never gotten the permission. Well, I never gave myself permission to be that over the top in the wigs, in the hair, in the dress, in the heels, well, at least on stage. And they gave me that permission. They was like, go. If you think you're going far, go even fucking further, okay?
yeah. I think I remember Kari giving me the same thing, especially as a Martian, where it's like Brian, just go, just be yourself, but also be yourself as this character or something like that. Just really go far with this thing.
Yes.
I think the moment,
Hmm.
and the problem is, especially when you're an actor, when you're in rehearsal, the same thing with like rehearsal closing, you don't have that like the notion of like what can I do with this character when I'm not in character yet because you don't have like you don't have
Hmm.
you don't have the shoes on, you don't have the pants on, uh, you don't have like new stage glasses, that sort of thing too. It's like you don't have anything that doesn't fit well for you with the character. And to counter that, I would just say get a prop of yours, like something you get in your own house, and imagine have it in like imagine something like a book, like a book, and imagine like
Hmm.
carrying around that book, and imagine you as the character would be like, maybe this is something that maybe this is something that my character would be reading or something like that. So probably
Right, like this is their character's building
yeah.
something that is familiar to that character for yourself as
So
well. No, yes,
even
yes,
though
definitely. That's why wardrobe is so important.
yeah, because wardrobe is always that last thing because you don't see what they're making for you until the week of not of last week of rehearsals. Whereas because especially because one wardrobe is always like they have to take the last minute because one they have to get everyone's management, especially if it's like a big cast like
Oh,
they
well, I guess no, it depends on which who you're working for, because usually wardrobe is always the first thing I go to.
oh well it's probably because I think it's probably because at BMCC and at Brooklyn College it took them a while because it depends on the amount of rehearsals, but also I didn't really
But
take
also we had for dates and nuts and caddy issues, we had Kwamisha Moreno. She was
yeah
our wardrobe. So she wasn't costumed for the school, I guess. She was doing it from her own style, from her own closet. So
yeah
everything came from her. So she had given us like an idea of what we would look like. And then we also had free permission to like put in our own ideas. So like
yeah
the 2 wigs were from me. I got those.
oh okay.
Those are everything. And the heels are mine too.
Uh, Now, in terms of the character, did you actually? Because it was like it's weird remembering the character from my perspective because it looked like you were like starting to get used to wearing to being a character, and then once you were on stage in the full on get up, it was like you were like literally unleashed because you were like literally
Mhm.
unleashed, and
That's I told you that's why wardrobe is so important. As soon as I put it on, as soon as who did my makeup? Anthony, who is a Radical Palm on Instagram, did my makeup. I was in it. I was in it. I was in the whole fantasy, as they call it. So
because
from that moment, from that chair, I am now Patrick. You cannot talk to me.
I remember uh, the idea was that of course I remember it's like the way they unveil your character on stage is like I'm trying to remember it correctly because it's like you're talking to William who was playing another character like another like nameless extra and
Hmm.
then as William is going by the two characters on the stoop are like making fun of you and then when you turn around you just like did a switch where it's like you're just doing like
Yep, that first line.
and then you just like what like you just did the whole switch. I'm like that like
Because
it's
okay, so I came in William, great William. I love him. Actually, his birthday is in a couple days. I think it's actually today. I think his birthday is actually today. But he came in. He was on my arm. I think he was shirtless or damn near shirtless. He came into my arm. You were walking in from stage left. They were sitting on the stoop, Danielle and ah, I just forgot her name. No. Well, her Instagram name is Bonita Applebottom, but Clarita. But yes, they were sitting on the stoop, and I was walking in, and they were talking about me, blah 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 blah. And then he starts to go away, and yes, that first switch, mind you, we rehearsed this, I think, countless times. This was the thing that got me, and I had to get to that high voice because the voice that I did,
yeah
very high pitched bitch. Are you talking to me?
which always killed the room because it's like that because you're not expecting that type of voice from well I mean you're kind of like expecting that type of voice but it's the way you present yourself as
Hmm.
Mary where it's just like bitch and I can't even do bitch in terms of that because one I gotta really stretch out my voice and two it's like you like as we were just mentioning before it's like once you get into that wardrobe and all that stuff it's like you just start really feeling the character so
Hmm.
yeah so
Juices started flowing. The actor juices started flowing.
now was it comfortable playing a character like this at this time, or was it just like something like, well, was it just like in the notion of this is actually new, especially as a character? I mean, like as an actor, because I never actually played a character
Like something I've never done before. No, but
yeah,
I mean, I was very comfortable with it. I was actually very excited to do it because I was so everyone else had to audition. I did not have to audition because I was I was chosen for this character. Like I had no choice. That was it. So we did do a table read, and so that kind of solidified it. But Kari and Cordova, they really they saw the character in me. They knew I would do very well. And so I guess they kind of groomed me.
yeah.
And it worked out amazingly.
But yeah, switching out to acting now, because I know I mentioned that you were right before we end the acting portion, I know you were acting like post BMCC or something like that, because I remember you like
Mhm.
you like putting up stuff like that, especially within the past few years, especially around like probably around where you live or something like that. And uh,
Oh yes, I'm in a so my mother's church, Greater Centennial, they
yeah,
have a drama ministry. And I am a member of that drama ministry. So we write our own skits. I write skits for us to perform sometimes. We have a director who is Janine Johnson, our president, Sanja Smash, sorry. Um, Actually, and also one of our members, or Sanja's daughter, her name is Ayana. She was in the traveling performance of Rent,
oh really?
and she did absolutely amazing. Her voice is incredible. Also, she has a single out right now called Queen, so that's cute. But I'm a part of that, and we perform for the church. We perform for other people sometimes. Usually, it's for our church events that we have
No,
a
it,
lot of them.
it, it definitely needs to be church friendly. So it's it's
I mean,
it def-
yes, but yes, but it has to. We like to do some things that are real, that tell a story, that definitely convey a message. Um, we do things on Black history. We do things on topics like Colin Kaepernick. I wrote a script of that that actually happened to me. That's what I based it off of, because I was in high school, and one of my teachers wanted me to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'm like, I don't have to stand. I just have to sit here and be quiet, because I'm like, I don't want to stand. First of all, it was first period in the day. Like, come on, making me stand, and it was on the third floor. You're gonna make me stand on the third floor after I got up at 6:30 just to be here on time? No,
look.
ma'am. But
I know I know my place. It's 8 o'clock in the morning. I've already walked up 3 flights of stairs. I could sit down for at least a couple of minutes before I got to stand up again.
mhm.
Yeah.
But it did say in our, because knowing me, I'm a smart aleck person I am. It did say in our handbook that if someone does not want to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, they can sit quietly and obviously not disturb. Also, I'm a Buddhist, and I'm like, also Black, and I'm like, all this Pledge of Allegiances to a country that didn't fight for me is a lot. And at that age, I was like, yeah, no. And Obama was in office. I'm like, yeah, y'all can, y'all cannot. But yes, I use that as the premise for our Black History Colin Kaepernick type situation. Um, and that performance went pretty well as well. I mean, pretty well as well. But yes, been part of that. I did my own little things. I know I have a group called ASP that has been inactive for quite a bit, just because of COVID and also just
Just
time.
timing. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember I was supposed to go to the first thing, but because of timing and stuff like that too, it was like I couldn't make the time. And it was like, uh,
Hmm.
one, it's like the same thing with trying to find a theater space. One, you got to find a space, and two, you got to have time and placement too. It's like it's like
Yep. And mine was supposed to be outside, and as soon as I started doing it outside, was like, yeah, no, weather change. I'm like, well, I have to find a space, like as you said, not to find a space, not to find all that, and it just became too like overwhelming at some points. But it's still there. It still has a Facebook page. I still post to it sometimes. It's living.
Yeah, it is what it is. But yeah,
Hmm.
in terms of just well, just performing in general, especially before pre-COVID, did you find any like was it like and this will also go into poetry too, where it's like performing.
Hmm.
You try to do performance pieces, especially for like poetry, or you were acting somewhere. Was it like harder to do because it is New York City? It's like it's New York City. It's like where can I go and
Hmm.
do the
Well, I used to go to pre-COVID. I used to go to poetry every Tuesday in Brooklyn. I forgot the Red Pipe Cafe, the Red Pipe Cafe. I think that's what it's called. But my friend Kevin invited me, and that's where I know most of my poetry friends. I bought Katrina there as well. I think you know Katrina Brown.
yeah.
Um, yeah, I bought her as well. And yeah, it was just an open mic. We would go every Tuesday night. We would read our poetry. We would hear each other's poetry. It was a vibe. It was everything. Um, and then COVID happened. Then I moved, so I'm like can't go
Yeah.
anymore. But
Yeah.
but I do
I
actually. Mhm.
no, I guess now that I could actually ask you now, it's like since I just essentially foregoed any questions I had. Well, I'll probably ask questions about acting too, but uh, since but with but with poetry, how did you get into poetry? Because
Poetry was my outlet again in high school. So actually, not even in high school. This was in I want to say seventh grade. It was more of an
oh wow,
outlet for I did drawings too, but I don't draw anymore. I don't have the skill like I used to. But it was more of an outlet than anything because I was bullied. I was all of this extra nonsense. I was
yeah,
going through um childhood. So it was a great outlet for that. And then it just transferred over into high school where it became more of something I would like to share with others because I saw other people going through very similar things that I was going through.
yeah.
So I felt like, hey, I'm right here with you. Hear this, and maybe it'll make you feel better, or give you an idea to maybe write down your own poetry, or write down something in general, because it's just everybody's day is different, which is in my poem difference, and it's acknowledging that, and just try to spread that love and to make sure that everybody feels that, because shit is hard.
Yeah.
Shit is hard, and just knowing somebody else is right there with you is you're better off. It makes a difference.
Because I remember talking to Jessica about this, and I can't remember what their placement was in terms of poetry, but I remember them saying that the poetry was like something like it wasn't a line of work of theirs, but it was like a line of work that they were trying to do like concurrently. Where it's just like
Hmm.
if they had a poem, figure out the beat of the poem. It's like the same thing with songwriting. When you have like a poem that you want to do, because I would hear poems from you. When people still use Snapchat and people still use Snapchat, I would hear poems.
Hmm.
I would hear like experts of your poems. I'm just like, how does Brandon find the time to do all this poetry? Because one, it sounds like you're not only singing, because technically speaking, poetry is like a song. But I mean,
Hmm. Well,
technically,
definitely like a rap for sure.
yeah. Uh, but how do you find time to do all this poetry? Because I remember actually sending you my poetry, like, or at least some form of poetry, and goes, well,
Hmm.
it could get better, that sort of thing too. Because I feel like if I if you do want to become a poetry, see what other poets think and see if this is still good
Yes.
because it's like as I was just saying before, it's like poetry is like this like different other performing art where it's just like it is sort of like music because you still have to find the beat.
It's a whole nother feeling. Like I always
Yeah,
tell my as people always think that this Brandon right here, right now, the goofy, funny thing over here, is
yeah.
also the same Brandon reading the poetry. I'm like, nah, they're two different people.
No, 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 no.
You get a whole different vibe. You get a whole different voice. My voice becomes deeper. I get more. emotional, more in tune with my poetry because it is written from emotion. It's written from a good place, a deep place. So I have a big connection to it.
Yeah.
So I get more serious, quote unquote. Even in my funny poems, I'm still a little serious,
Serious.
but you get the note.
Yeah. But how do you actually do find the time to do all these poetries? Like, do you just like, is it like the same thing where
Oh,
you,
it's honestly, it's I've gotten to the point where I don't write as much as I used to. I used to write almost every day, which was again it comes come off emotion to make you not make me feel better, but just get thoughts off my mind, you know.
gotcha.
Or maybe I will hear a song and I'll hear a word and I'll start a rhyme with it and I just keep going. At that point, then and there, take out my phone in my notes, write it down. Like in my notes, I have hundreds of unfinished poems or lines or finished ones that still need to be published or just yeah, they're just there.
Like I have the
Just for
same,
the sake of doing it.
I have the same thing, but it's more along the lines of story ideas for just writing in general. So it's like, oh,
Hmm.
it's like the same thing. It's what writers call log lines or just like story ideas or something like that, where it's just like, oh, I like this idea of a story. Just let me write that down, just jot it down. If I have
Hmm.
a thing, just like more write it down. It's, but yeah, poetry is, and I do feel like poetry is starting to become a lot more, what's the term? It's like now poetry is sort of like coming as like a stepping stone within the past, like say, a couple of years, because now it's like whenever people think of poetry, it's like, oh, it'd be like, oh, someone is standing in like some sort of dark room and like that's smoking all that stuff. Now it's like now,
Hmm.
like
Sitting with
poetry
that
now,
silhouette with people just snapping.
yeah, it's like, yeah, man. But but now people, but people now actually poetry has a lot more conviction behind it because now people were, who was it that just did the White House thing? It was like some, it was a girl who did the
Oh
White,
I forgot her name, but she is a gorgeous Black queen whose poetry is outstanding.
and then she does the Super Bowl, and I'm like,
Hmm.
it's like now we have
And it
people,
was a very proud moment for us poets. I'm like,
yeah,
look at this, look at this.
look, take a look at this. You know, that's someone who knows poetry. I'm like, okay, I'm like,
Hmm. She knows
and
the ins and outs of it, and it's very nice. It's very nice.
but yeah, when it came to poetry, it's like, and you mentioned poetry was like your outlet to you. It was like, in 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 terms of your outlets, was it just something that just became like the first outlet you thought, or was it just something that just came out naturally?
Oh no, poetry was not the first outlet. It was the first outlet that truly spoke to me,
Gotcha.
besides acting. Um, but then everything else, it just opened the door for everything else. So it became the acting, it became the modeling, um, it became everything. So just to be more adventurous as well.
Uh, have you? Okay, and speaking of modeling, because you just mentioned modeling,
Hmm.
modeling. How did you get into that? Because I feel like modeling has been a, because I haven't anybody who done modeling on the show, at least not to my.
Hmm.
I mean,
It is a
I
little
mean,
tough thing. I mean, I guess it is. I mean, it's tough to, I guess, to whoever, which model you're talking to.
yeah.
Each of us have different standards. Each of us have different goals. But I got into it through my friend, through church. Her name is Sharina Delgado. She is a fantastic model. You can also find her on Instagram, Facebook, all of that. She's been on the cover of Vogue. She's been to Paris runways. She's been New York Fashion Week. I don't know, countless times. She's a model management company as well called Straight Walk Runway, which I have also taken courses with her. Um, just to fine tune the things and get the posing down as well, because posing is also part of modeling, which is why I I'm now going into dancing more. So it's just they're all avenues that are connected to each other. Because then when you're dancing and you combine the modeling aspect as well, you get those fluid motions, those
Yeah.
different curves, those different all of that. And that's why also working out as well. Doing my weight resistance training I'm more flexible now, so I can do those bends straight down to my knees, put my head to my knees as well. So all of that is just combined. So thanks to Serena Delgado, I got to walk in my first New York Fashion Week, which
Yeah.
was for Amanda Mel. She has her fashion line, which is mostly made out of unconventional items like curtains, or her jewelry is made out of maybe like wire hanger or something, you
Oh
know.
wow.
I was wearing, I think it was like the
It
plastic,
kind
you know, the
of.
plastic wash curtains that are in like
Oh,
the
okay.
car wash or whatever those things. Uh, I was
For some
wearing that as
reason,
a skirt with some jeans. It was amazing.
I'm just being reminded of shop class where it's like when it's like the same thing with shop class where it's like if there's something that you can use it as a thing. So it's like again,
Hmm.
it's like people could wear, and that's the thing about fashion. It's like you could wear anything and still make it fashionable. Uh,
Yes. If first of all, that's the one a number one rule of modeling. If you're modeling your body, you're also modeling what you're wearing. If you can't model what you're wearing, then how are you model? What's going on?
yeah,
I
but
should be able to sell you anything.
of course, the also the second rule of modeling is even if you think you can model it, see if it's presentable because there are things where it's just like coming out with the new raincoat and the raincoat just happens to be like the raincoat just happens to be like something that looks like square or like square shoulders and it's like
Hmm.
a square hood or something like that and it's not even a raincoat, it's more along the lines of like some sort of like blocky coat where it's just like the new raincoat by Ralph Lauren. And I'm like, this doesn't look like a raincoat or something like that. And it's like, I apologize to Ralph Lauren, even if you are making a raincoat like that. If you are,
I'm sorry.
I need that money. But two, no, I kid though. But yeah, it definitely feels like the same thing with theater, where it's just like if you have an idea for a costume or something like that, see if it works. And
Hmm.
I could, and the thing about fashion is that if you could wear it, I mean, if you could design it, wear it, present it. It's like I've seen
Hmm.
weirder things being presentable, and then suddenly it's like it was like I've seen people wearing like not necessarily lingerie, but like body suits of like nylon. I'm just like
Hmm. Well, I mean, Amanda, the thing I love about Amanda is that she's completely out of the box. Like our first runway was in a hardware store, the oldest hardware store in Manhattan. That's where
oh
our first
wow,
runway show was. And we were on the news, we were everywhere. It was great. And that was my first show. And for that to be my first show was first of all, testament to Serena Delgado. Um, and just the stepping stone for what I have now, the achievements I
yeah,
have now, and also those connections. I still know all of those models from that fashion show, and then most of them came back again for the next fashion week, which was in an apartment building, um,
yeah,
in one of those in the houses. So we went from each room was a different color. The kitchen was the runway, the dining room was runway, and then at some point my friend Janzu, who is also a great model and designer as well. He walked on the table as the runway, as one of the last pieces to the show. Um, but I was saying, Amanda is out of the box like that. Um, to say that I think it was December of 2019 or 2020. No, December of 2020. I did a show for her, or she invited me to do one, where we were in an art gallery that she had rented out. It was just a table and some food, all that she designed as well, and a carcass of a unicorn. It wasn't a real
oh.
carcass, but
Well, I just heard caucus and then unicorn. I'm like caucus. I'm like, and then unicorn. I'm like, oh, okay. It's like,
it was it was as big as the table. It was long. It was made out of some stuffed animal and some glitter and all this extra stuff. It's there's pictures on my Instagram, but and hers as well. But the food was coming out of it. It was real food. There was grapes. There was everything. So it was the premise of maybe like Greeks at a feast. We were all wearing her designs. We were modeling the clothes, and we were putting on the show. At some point after the modeling, we came out, we were all doing our thing. That's the all yellow number I'm wearing on my Instagram, where I'm like it's on standing on a podium.
Oh, okay.
That was that day, or that photo shoot as well. And we had a food fight. That was a part of the assignment. She said, I want you to have a food fight. I want you to eat the food. I want you to smear it. She wanted to get the in-between moments, you know? Those are the best pictures. those unexpected, those crazy, wild moments. So we had a food fight. We were throwing things. We were eating things. Some people were making out while they smeared stuff over here. It was completely crazy and chaotic, but the pictures were absolutely amazing, and the story was great. And it was also great working with them as well. It was just fun.
Do you now? This is again, and now this relates both to COVID, hello COVID, and also the idea of fashion becoming a lot more COVID restrictions. I'm not sure how fashion is now because I'm not really a fashion person. I don't follow.
Most of them are doing online things. That's why TikTok has become so goddamn large as of right now. But I'm not about this online nonsense. First of all, I feel so old saying that. I'm only 25, and I'm like, I like in person. That's where I shine. This device thing, this editing my videos. I'm like, what is this? Can I not be in person? Can you not edit my videos for me while I'm on set?
No, but 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 from your experience as a fashion model, do you see people wearing like masks and stuff like that as a fashion accessory now going into the next, like, say, several years, where it's just like people will be like,
oh no, it definitely is. It's my fashion accessory. My masks are red. My I order them off of Amazon. I have red and I have black. They match my uniform at work because I'm a lifeguard. So I wear all red.
Nice.
I hate the blue ones. They look like I'm a nurse, and I'm like, that I don't want to look like a nurse. So I have my red ones, which are cute. And there's this old woman who comes to my pool. I think her name is Shirley. She wears them. Hers is beaded and has like a bunch of little diamonds and pearls on it, and it has a pearl up here, and then it connects to her glasses.
Oh,
That's her
wow.
mask, and it's so cute. And she has her little walker. She's so cute. I love it. So, and actually Amanda Mel made a fashion statement with her mask as well. But that's for a project that we haven't released yet. So I'll say hush hush about that.
It may or may not be released by the time this thing, but you know, our little secret. No, but yeah, I do feel like within the next next several years, masks will be more like masks will be more along the lines of like a fashion accessory, especially going forward, because I feel like now there's probably gotta be like clothing that would be like, you know, coming soon, you know, the Armani mask, you know, it's like, and it's like,
well, I mean, I think they already do those things though.
No, but I'm
because I see them at Target, I see them at CVS.
Not like a regular mask to wear, but like a mask that's like more or less something that you just wear that doesn't that's like non-functional. It's more like a prop than it is more like a actual.
Oh no, they have those.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
They have those. The Louis Vuitton ones, the Coach ones. I've seen those things. They're on these celebrities not protecting themselves. They're all so crazy. And have you seen the little tiny masks that only cover right here?
Yeah.
I've seen. Why? What is that doing? It's just
putting
all the germs back up into your face.
The best type of masks I've seen are the ones that actually look like they're wearing a mask above their on the chin, but accidentally that's what the mask looks like. Because it'd be like the mask is basically a superposed picture of the mask on their chin, so it looks like they're not wearing a mask at all. But
yes, I wanted one of those.
So in all honesty, they're just wearing a mask. It looks like they're not wearing a mask at all, and then they pull it down. It's like, yes, it's a great mask, not only to troll people, but also just like see how long people can actually realize, oh, you're just wearing a mask, and the mask is that like flesh covering and stuff like that too. Like,
I would love that. I think I
uh,
actually looked it up before.
but back to what I was trying to say before with COVID. Have you been like, what has been like the performing arts scene for you with COVID? Because I know a lot of people have been doing online stuff. You know, I've done a lot of online stuff. I have no problem doing online stuff like readings and stuff like that too, because it helps me get.
I mean, I've been asked to do a couple readings. I've recorded something for Black History Month. I think I uploaded that to Instagram. It was in a blue sheer top or something. And that was a paid gig. That was for a church, St. Catherine's in White Plains. They asked me to do that for their Black History Month celebration.
Nice.
Other than that, I've been modeling for Play Out New York City. I just did a photo shoot for Laz on Instagram, L-A-Z. He's a photographer. And that hasn't been released yet, but it will. And there's little nice things about that as well. But I've been doing most of that. Over the digitals, I don't know. Again, it's not me, but I do try to do most of my poetry, my voiceover poetry, which I love. I might start recording. I don't know. This new age might get me over the hump. I've kind of replaced it all with working on my house since I moved to Brewster. We live a block away from a lake, which I get to run around it. And I have started my garden, so that's something I'm working on.
Which I feel like is a great outlet to do, especially as an actor, where it's just like, hey, you know, I have a great backyard, and my father had a great garden. My grandfather had a great garden, you know, when I was growing up. So I was like always see his like plants and stuff like that, and we still have the remains of that garden outside of our garden. I mean, our backyard, but since our backyard is practically concrete, it's a little harder for us to do that. But I'm pretty sure you have like
try raised garden beds. Those are great.
Okay, raised garden beds.
So it's basically just in a container, but you get to set it down, probably move around depending on how large it is.
Yeah, and the other portion is that we need to be it needs to be probably in the sunlight a lot more better. So and make sure it's that too. And I don't know, our backyard, you know, when the sunlight hits it, it's usually depends where the location is. So we have to figure out the best position to do that gardening. But yeah, gardening is
it's definitely another creative outlet for sure. Because my garden is it's kind of big, but I will definitely be working on it for quite a while. But knowing me, it'll get done pretty fast just because I hate waiting. I'm very impatient.
That's the same thing. It's like I just hate waiting.
Yeah. So it'll be very cute. It's gonna have some nice swinging doors on it as well.
Nice.
A lot of vegetables, a lot of fruits.
I honestly can't wait to see the final product. I'm like, you made all that?
Same. I have to work on it after this as well. So
yeah, it's gardening is always never really done because you're just like, oh, I just tended to go.
No, there's always something to do. Always something to do. But it'll be a great relaxing point because I'll have a fire pit in there. I'll have a fountain. I have some trees, some banana tree, orange tree, lemon tree, peach tree. There's a lot going on. But it'll be fun.
I think at that point, that's a good way to stop today's episode because I think if we kept on talking about it, this suddenly will become like a gardening podcast and no one wants to hear it. Well, I'm pretty sure there are people who do gardening podcasts, but this is a performance.
Yes, that's another creative outlet, but yeah, I got you.
Yeah, it was like all of a sudden it's like this became a gardening podcast instead of a performing arts broadcast, Brian. The way to go to manage a show. But that's the thing about my guests and I. Even when we're like distracting from each other from different discussions, it all leads back to one thing, which is the entertainment portion. And
Exactly. And it's all creative, you know?
And again, gardening is a creative process because people who do gardening, they could be gardening and then suddenly if they are a creative spirit, they might get a great that a possible not possibly that
Hmm.
I just
But also that's where I'm gonna be writing my poetry. That's where I'm gonna be reading my lines, going over all these creative juices and things. It's gonna be my space, you know. So they all intertwine, as I was saying. They
yeah.
all have a place.
Uh, Now, oh no, what happened?
Oh, where'd it go? Oh, it was saying low battery. I'm so sorry. Oh,
Okay. Uh, in that case,
I will connect to you right. There we go. Okay.
okay, good. I was about to wrap up today's show too, but it's perfect timing too. I do have three questions that are fairly easy. One,
Hmm.
you social media. I know you're a lot of social media. You have like tons of.
I am, and all of
Where
them
can we
are
find you?
the same. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, they're all the same. Brandon EVP. That's it.
Which is a great handle, which has always been a great handle because it's like, oh, it's like Brandon VP. I'm like, and it's like, okay, and people are like, are you a VP or something? Like, no, that's just my name. I'm a VP.
Hmm. That's me,
So
and it
so
stands for
that
it's all my name. So Brandon Eriq Vaughn Puryear.
yeah,
That's
which
me.
is again a great handle to have because it's not only as an
And then nobody else has it as well. Haha.
that my second question is fairly easy too. You mentioned a couple of other things that are in the works. Do you have anything that is in the works, and could you actually explain? Could you actually sell us about what is actually in the works? That like I have a couple of things, but I don't want to really say what it is yet. But
Hmm.
but it definitely feels like I could actually say something about that.
Okay. Well, I do have this actually a lot of modeling coming up. A lot of photo shoots. Um, I'll be at the beach most of the time during the summer or just traveling. So there'll be a lot of photos, a lot of companies I'm trying to work with. Some are lingerie, some are underwear, some are clothing lines. Um, in terms of acting, question mark, don't know as of yet. I might do some monologue videos. We shall see. Um, and currently just working on my garden and going to work. That's about it.
Yeah, I think that at this point, even if you're entertainer in New York City, it, like everything is already at the point of fully reopened, but there's a lot of stuff that hasn't been fully reopened, and Broadway has yet been theater. Like they are like as of right
Well,
now,
I mean,
like there are like pop up theaters,
my
stuff like
friend,
that.
what's his name? Yeah, no, there are pop-up theaters, but my friend Tomas on Instagram, he is a Broadway dancer and singer in the upcoming Broadway musical about Diana, Princess Diana.
Yeah,
You know her?
yeah.
Yes. So
Who
they
doesn't know
actually
Princess
just
Diana?
got my bad. Okay, so they just got permission to actually start production again. I think it's gonna happen later on next month. So that's some
Nice.
very good news.
Yeah,
So they're one of the first.
and I know Hugh Jackman's Music Man is coming soon. I guess maybe towards the end of the year. I'm not sure. I mean,
Hmm.
much as I love Hugh Jackman, it's the Music Man. I'm like, how much times can the Music Man be so profitable?
Right. But
But
also Hugh Jackman has a very good voice.
yes, but I can't I
He has
can't
a very good voice.
I can't really blame the people behind the Music Man. They're like using Hugh Jackman. So it's like, okay, you got
Hmm.
Queen, you sold me. So,
So
but
he sold me in Phantom of the Opera. I was done.
Fan of the Opera? Oh, I didn't realize he's just Fan of the Opera. Maybe.
I
Anyway,
believe so. Or was that no, that was him.
and the last one is fairly easy. Advice, especially those who are creative artists, performing artists, actors, actresses, writers, what have you. Do you have any advice to those who are essentially trying their best to do their work right now, but hasn't really
Hmm.
the spark, especially going forward, whereas it's like the past few years,
Hasn't found this. Oh, okay.
especially for the
Well,
past few years
I
have
can.
been, especially since the past few years have been like very, very dreary, but now it's sort of like there is that light at the end of the tunnel now where it's just like people are finding their hope again.
hmm No, because I feel that because I was absolutely right there. So were most of my actor and performing arts friends. They as soon as this pandemic started, we were like, like what's what's going on? So we weren't performing, we weren't in the group for quite a while. Um, for me, it was exercising that got me out of my little rut, out of my head and just back into the juices, just waking my body up. Um, but I say to find the spark to. I always write every day. One of my teachers and friend Alejandro um, always told me that if because we're all poets, we're writing buddies as well. If you're a writer, you write every day. Just even if you don't want to write something. You have no idea what to write about something that's right in front of you, and soon you'll get that little spark and that little idea of like, oh my goodness, and this rhymes, and you might go over, and that might lead you into something else. I just say do your craft. If you like it, jump right back into it. Start recording one and see if that might lead you to two. It's okay to stop. It's okay to take a break. you know, it's okay to move on to something else and then come back to it. But if you really want to continue your craft and continue what fuels you, keep it going. Keep it going yourself because you're the only person that can do that.
And on that note, I think it's a great notion to stop today's work. Well, not stop today's work. I mean, yeah, but stop today's episode. There we go.
Mm-hmm.
I thought today's broadcast, like I was actually. Hello, no. I just doing the whole thing from the top again. I think that is a great notion to end today's episode and to just, if you're a writer, write. If you are an actor, just perform a monologue and keep performing a monologue. It's definitely something that keeps you going, and in order to do that,
and also I watch shows as well. Because even watching a show is a teachable moment. You can see the actor's choice of what they did here, what they did there. You know.
Especially going forward, where it's just like now, it's like even though we're kind of like in that pandemic era of TV shows or something like that, you can still watch a great TV show now and just go, wow, that actress actually did a great choice to do, especially with the circumstances that they were giving, especially not only on the set right now, but also just like on their own professional level, rather than just being like, if I was in that moment, I would probably do something similar, but not like that. But yeah, traveling on. That was episode 4. No, episode 4 of Performing Arts of season 5. I hope you all enjoyed it, and please take care, wear a mask, and be well. Brandon, thank you for being on the show, and see you.